XRP, XLM, Quant, Toshi, crypto holders, pack your bags. We're about to take off. We see that Bitcoin is actually following this red line almost perfectly, but we're most likely going to be consolidating over this line before ultimately pushing up, as this black trend line is the more of a support line that we are kind of looking at. Moving right into Tornado Cash. If you guys missed out on your perfect entry here at 10, we are right back up at 11 and holding support right where this black line was, where we tested it about 13 times before breaking it. So if you did not enter at 7, which we did if you're in my trading channel, and you did not enter in here at 11, maybe got in at 13 for whatever reason, we had that major pullback, and now we are testing the 200 EMA and this black trend line as support, and we are most likely going to use this 200 EMA as support, start pushing back up in between these two black trend lines before ultimately taking off. You can trade Tornado Cash on MEXC. The reference link is in the description below. So definitely this is one I keep telling you to stack your bags on, because the all-time high is over $459 for an $11 entry. Moving right on into Quant. Quant filling out this diamond pattern, in my opinion, not necessarily likely to be diamond pattern potential, but what I am seeing is that when it breaks over this black downward trend line, we're most likely going to see a 40%, if not up to 154, before a little bit of consolidation and then pushing up to 171. It's trying to get over that 200 EMA and use it as support as well. But really, we just need to see this consolidate and start pushing upwards, breaking this downward trend line, and then all is clear for QNT. Moving into XRP. XRP, the bigger thing I like to look at, we have this downward wedge forming, or that we broke out of. Now we have another trend line that we are trying to break past, and we're in the consolidation bull flag. Pretty much we could come all the way back down here and touch the 200 EMA in this first downward wedge, but it's more likely that the CM Guppy is going to start pushing this upwards towards this black downward trend line, which is right in the important area of August 12th to, what is that, 15th? Somewhere in here we're going to see some major news, but you see that I have this inverse head and shoulders played out. You can't have an inverse head and shoulders if it's not actually playing out the right shoulder, which right here it actually is playing out the right shoulder. And so once we break over this black downward trend line, the next stop for XRP is going to be 367, its previous all-time high, but if we can break and close above that, we're looking at around $4 to $4.50, maybe even $5 for XRP. So dollar cost average your XRP, keep stacking it. The 200 EMA is very hot, and we see that when it pushed up over that 200 EMA, it hasn't been able to break down and hold for very long underneath that 200 EMA. So this line right here, this blue line, is going to be fire and just start pushing XRP upwards. Moving into XLM, following similar formation as XRP, the downward wedge, almost identical, broke up over, another bull flag, potential to come back down and touch this 200 EMA, but overall, similar pattern with the inverse head and shoulders, as we can see right here. There's the left shoulder, there's the head, and more or less the right shoulder. So we'll wait to see this play out. You potentially have a good entry here around 41 cents. If not, you start seeing this curve upwards. Consider that the right shoulder, and you can have your entry for the next stop on this black upward trend line, which we broke over. We're looking at around 58 cents from 44 cents, but it's good to have some XLM as well as XRP just in case, and those are both going to be capital gains tax-free for U.S. citizens. And Toshi broke the downward trend line, a major pump up. Oh no, we'll go to D-Force and we'll bring back up Toshi. D-Force pushed up over the 200 EMA. If we can close and hold above this 200 EMA, we can start pushing upwards. But let's bring back Toshi real quick. And Toshi right here. Imagine we're potentially going to test this downward trend line as support, staying right above the green in the CM Guppy a 200 EMA. We want to keep it close, so we don't want any rapid movements. But we can see that from, this is a 4-hour chart, so it's a little bit more accurate than the daily chart. 18% within 8 hours, or I guess 1 day, 18%. Not bad for Toshi. It is a meme coin. It is filling out an inverse head and shoulders, so keep all that in mind. GRT, we had this placed right here as this being the support, and it clearly held that as support, broke the downward trend line, used that as support as well as the upward trend line, pushed right up over the 200 EMA. Now we want to see it hold and consolidate upwards with that 200 EMA, not keeping the 200 EMA too far away. BNT, I brought this up before multiple times, and in my last video I talked about how we were down here. Keeping in mind this is the 4-hour chart. We were right here whenever I was talking about it. I said once we get over that 200 EMA, we are most likely going to start pushing up towards the dotted red line, and that's exactly where we went. So that is about as accurate as you can get for BNT. The future for BNT, we have a very, very long way to go. This is the weekly. Let's get to the daily. Daily. So BNT, where's its high? You'd think it would be here, $5. No. $10. No. It's up here at $20. So if you haven't entered BNT, it's filling out the inverse head and shoulders. It's getting very bullish. It's not crossing over the CM Guppy. The RSI is a little bit overbought, so kind of keep an eye on it before entering. But we will most likely test this downward trend line as support. And we want to keep that 200 EMA close before we start moving further upwards. So keep an eye on BNT. If we close above this previous high, it is going to start moving upwards. And now it would not be a bad entry. None of this is financial advice. Just keep that in mind. Trying to bust these out as quick as possible. Floki is definitely a meme coin as well. Toshi is looking a little bit better than Floki. But we are holding above the 200 EMA. Similar pattern. We got that W. Broke up over the 200 EMA. May come back down and touch it. We want to hold support on this black upward trend line. And that's kind of it for Floki. IOTX has been in consolidation and upward momentum. If you have not entered IOTX, anywhere above the 200 EMA is a pretty good bet. We may move a little bit closer towards this orange upward trend line, but we are kind of consolidating within this area. If I draw a box, this is kind of the consolidation area, more or less. You kind of look at this. I think I had a triangle pattern pulled up. Looking at this one, you can see there is the top being flat and then the upward trend line moving upwards. And that's kind of what we see here. I can draw it in black if you guys can't see that specifically. This is the top line. And then we got this bottom line being this orange coming upwards. This is kind of what we are looking at. And typically when you go back to the pattern, it breaks out in a bullish pattern. So keeping that in mind, it's getting close, it's getting tight and hot for this area. Anywhere within 3 cents to 3.5 cents is a good entry point. But breaking over that 3.5 cents, this thing will start to fly as well, as we saw right here. It just took off from 2.5 cents, broke over 3.5 cents, and went all the way up to about almost 6 cents, 5.8 cents. So IOTX, definitely try and get a small bag of anything in there. The RSI is at the 50. Volume is kind of picking up a little bit, but this is going to be a little bit more of a longer play for IOTX. Bringing in near. Doge, we'll come back to that. Near is filling out the inverse head and shoulders as played out previously in my last video. We just needed to start holding above this 200 EMA, and near will start to take off as well. And then the major resistance we're going to see is right here at $5.20. We may break through it and come back and then test support, but near does have a very long way to go as well. Keeping in mind this is the 4-hour. We are at an almost absolute low for near. Its high being up here at $21, and it is currently at not even $3. On the daily, it's better to keep it on the daily for crossing over that 200 EMA before seeing a better entry. However, the 4-hour is a better judgment call for daily trading. Doge pushed exactly where we expected, up to the 24 cents, got a little rejection. 200 EMA coming up as well, a little bit overbought on the RSI, but volume is trying to pick up. And we ultimately, this is also an inverse head and shoulders starting to form out here. We may come down a little lower, down to around 22 cents before curving back up and breaking that 24-cent area. Oof. All right, Aerodrome, we'll come back to that because Aerodrome, as soon as I called it out, it went up about 24% or something like that the other day. XCN, everybody's worried about it. This is in the 4-hour, but it is very nice consolidation, keeping the RSI healthy. Nobody is selling this anymore, so it is getting higher lows. I have this black upward trend line for the higher lows, but we can actually adjust this a little bit, and we can take the bottom down here and try and line it up with these other ones, similar to this orange line we have placed. But we pretty much just need to start consolidating, pushing up over that 200 EMA, and then ultimately breaking this downward yellow trend line. After that, the sky is the limit for XCN. So definitely stack your bags for XCN, XRP, and all those others. Aerodrome, I called this out right before we crossed over the 200 EMA. I said once we cross that 200 EMA, we are going to be taking off, and we did. We are up about 56% on Aerodrome Finance. So if you guys missed that one, this is in the 4-hour, but if you go into the daily, it doesn't look as violent, but we want to start seeing if there's a downward trend line that we can kind of make sense of. This was the previous one. It broke that. We turned this into the downward trend line. Now we are holding that as support as well as the upward trend line. And then we consider this as a downward trend line. It broke that. We can consider this as support. And now we can consider this as a downward trend line. If it breaks that, it's got quite a ways to go for Aerodrome Finance. I don't believe this graph is showing absolutely everything. Maybe wait for a better entry, as it is currently up about 43% just from yesterday whenever I brought it up. If you guys missed it, I hope you guys didn't. XYO still in consolidation, not a bunch to say about it. Spell had that major pop and is still trying to consolidate above the 200 EMA. Still not much to say about it, but if we hold that support, we can see some major potential. And then I'm just going to throw in Compound on this one. I called out Compound multiple times, said we were going to get some support. Right here is where I was saying you should enter. If you guys had listened in the videos and even stacked a small bag, you are currently up. Well, it was 30%. Now you're up 23% from that entry. I said we would be pushing back up towards the $61, so we may get a little consolidation, but we want to keep the 200 EMA close. We are a little bit overbought in the 4-hour on the RSI. Moving into the daily, it hasn't broken out of the RSI, so there is still potential to move upwards. We are getting a little bit of indecision here, so we need to see this volume start picking up, which is exactly what this indecision is showing. Then we can see that continuation to $61. That's it for today. All the references in the description below for MEXC, where you can trade Tornado Cash. There's even tipping references for if you guys want to throw some love and money towards me. But this is definitely a good entry for Compound. If you miss the absolute bottom, we may come down and test this 200 EMA. Good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.